the idea of service. And it's a very special idea. It's a wonderful idea for me because serving our communities and serving, the world in which we live is the central theme of a Montessori of the Montessori philosophy. It's the central idea. It's the central principle on which the Montessori environments unfold. So when we think about the idea of service, and we think of such little children as they grow in the world, we realize that human beings who live together in social units, whether it's a family, whether it's a community, whether it's the nation, world at large, we know that this coming together of people is something that human beings need. So all human beings who are together, who work together, they live together, they share the details and the ups and downs of their lives together. In this process, we everything that is within us is in the spirit of sacrifice. So this sacrifice that we make, putting aside what we need to go to the help of somebody else, this is the basic principle on which the whole of Montessori work unfolds. So if you take a little one who's next to her, the grain has spilt, the child is doing something different, but will put aside that work and go and help the child who is distressed because their grain is on the floor. Or there's an older child who comes and checks the snack table and looks at the snack table and realizes the younger children have no snack. Let me go and prepare something for them to have. This inner nature of the child is natural. Montessori saw that this was the child's true nature. She saw that children were not needing to be taught by us, taught by adults, how to help and serve and be with each other, how to come together to be a supportive community. They don't need to be taught that. They just need to be given the opportunity to live that, to be who they are, to establish and express their trueness, which is within. To Montessori, all children were born with potential and were good. Human beings are good people who actually care for others, look after others, all happy human beings, live together with others, thinking about them rather than about themselves. To be selfless, to be a person who is not looking out only for themselves. This is the natural state of being. This is what Montessori has left us, these thoughts and ideas to think about. And of course, all of us who work with children come across that every day in our experience with children, that we know that this is something that we can all recognize. We all know children are kind. We all know children are brave. We all know that children, put themselves out for others. So we've seen these examples all along. So when we all did the course, we did the training, we were touched by some of these ideas. We were touched by the children we saw in teaching practice, in observation. We were moved. We were moved by the way in which the human beings can live, which is what the little socially cohesive environment is. Even when the environment is in chaos, even when the children are, seem to be running around without any purpose, we know that we can imagine that this child, who, if he finds his true self, if he can find the support that he needs, will become a child who is caring, kind, compassionate, and ready to be aware of the needs of others. And this is our goal. Whenever we talk about the aims of these sensorial materials and the aims of practical life and the aims of, all these activities, mathematics, and what they should know about tables, I feel sometimes in that process of looking for, immediacy of these aims, we forget the larger aims. And there is only one aim. In a sense, there's only one goal of all of development, and that is to be a good human being. Because when you're a good human being, when you're in harmony with your environment, you're also a happy human being. So if life must evolve with happiness for everyone, then to live together and care about each other seems to be such a logical and such a clear picture that Montessori gives us. And the bleeding world today, the hurt world today, all around us, we know that There are people who are unhappy, people who are hurt, people who are being exploited, people who are in, struggling with conditions which no one should have to bear, in a sense, in our lives. So in this situation, when we talk about service, it sometimes seems to me that, you know, in serving society seems such an overwhelming thing to do. How do you serve society? So as Montessori teachers, already everybody's plate is so full. Got a home to look after. All the people in the family whom you care about, whom you put first, all of those people are around us. When you leave the family and you enter the Montessori environment, there too, the children's lives are there. They are all around us. We have to help them. We have to put aside whatever problems we have and really help them. And then beyond that, it is being asked of me to serve society. What does that even mean? How does that even look? There's so much pain and suffering in the world. How can I, as a person who's done the training, how can I take this out? This is a very big question for us as alumni, I think. And I think the the word that we hear, trainers hear all the time in the training center, all the time when students come back and when alumni come back, is, how are you? I'm overwhelmed. I don't know. I've got so much to do. I'm overwhelmed, right? So I know that, many of us feel that pressure of having tasted something. We have tasted the joy of Montessori work and we want to pass it on. And of course, as alumni, we want everything to be perfect. So we want that perfection to permeate through society and as quickly as possible, and everyone to understand Montessori principles and improve the lives of children at once. And that's what we all want. But how does one even achieve that? I mean, just think about our neighbors and the children who are being tied in prams and the children who have big dummies in their mouth, not allowed to speak, just, this thing just in the face. You see children weeping for reasons that we understand. We understand when we look at those children and see them crying, yes, we understand why they're crying. And we're not able, we feel helpless, we feel overwhelmed, we feel we are not able to serve. So in a way, when we, the conference that we've organized in Bombay this year, yes, the theme of Saparya. Saparya is not just service, it is also service with dedication. Service where you imbue and invest your emotions, where you invest love. So to Montessori, service was love. It was the love that we have for children in a generalized sense come out in the way in which we hold other people. Yes, it comes out in the simplest of ways. Yes, in dealing with a parent with compassion. Yes, a parent whom you may not think is doing the right thing for their child, but in dealing with them with some compassion, in helping them to take one small step further in understanding the child and his needs. To ourselves, perfect ourselves and look at ourselves and, realize that we also don't know everything that there is to know and that we have to rededicate ourselves to this work at every moment in order to help somebody else. So the Indian Montessori Foundation is not just an affiliate of AMI. Yes, we organize conferences, we do books. Yes, but the work of the Indian Montessori Foundation is done by volunteers. And what does it mean to volunteer yourself to an organization that's doing work? It really is volunteering, in a sense, for me, is really service. And I think that is something that, it's something that we have come to understand, because many of us volunteers, we meet after and we think, what is it that actually holds and hangs together? Because everyone is busy. All these volunteers hold jobs, they're all busy. There are many of them, and they sometimes every year we have a few new people who come to say, let's do this. And I think that what it is that being with people with common ideas of taking these ideas out to people who don't know, to give them accurate information, to bring people into the fold in a loving way, to be available and there to invite them into understanding children in a deeper way. This idea is what actually holds the Indian Montessori Foundation together. In a way, it's centered in service and it's centered in the work, the choices that the volunteers have made to support and help the organization. And what does the organization do? That is also a work of service. It is a work by which we take big ideas and we offer it in small, simple ways in which we can, within our means, to reach a wider audience. So this idea of selflessness is also for me today, because I also meet a lot of young people. I meet a lot of people who are overwhelmed. Some of the overwhelmed, the reason why we are overwhelmed, I sometimes think, is because we have no time. So all the time, it seems to me, that I was just writing a schedule. 2, 3 hours ago, I was writing a schedule for myself for the next month, and it's a bit overwhelming. It's like, I try to hold these empty spaces in the schedule for myself. And Anne Dunn always used to say that when hot air rises, something rushes in to take its place. So if one thing gets moved and you get a little space, it seems, gosh, another thing has jumped in, which I have to do now. Right? So a schedule is a very, overwhelming thing. And when we look at our time, we don't have time. All of us are holding many things. All of us are holding multiple, responsibilities, and all of us want to do more and more and more and more and more, as life has, done that also around us. It is possible to do two things. It's possible to be speaking to somebody and also be in a meeting and also be texting under the table and also be answering the phone and also be aware of what's on that screen and also be aware of somebody's expression. It's possible now to do more and more and more in a way that it wasn't perhaps some years ago. So in such a scenario, when we don't have time, it seems to me that we need to schedule that time to do the things that we love. How is it that we are always scheduling time to do things that are boring and terrible and sometimes we don't like? But because those boring and terrible things come out of a larger picture where you achieve something greater. If you're running a school or you're working with children, there are things that you have to do which are boring. Boring. When you have to, tidy up, write a report, give an annual report, in my case, write budgets, these are not boring things to do if you're not interested in them. But we overcome that because it's part of a larger picture where we are happy. What I'm inviting you all to do really is to really be a part of a larger organization in which a large number of people who are like-minded work together, and we all only try to do a little bit, because it's not possible for us to do the whole thing. We need people to hold all the little bits. The ants, which seem so weak, seem so small, seem so insignificant in a way if you look at an ant. But if you look at an ant's colony, they can move like 8 kilos of sugar. Ants can move 8 kilos of sugar in 2 days. It's incredible if you think about the weight of an ant, that it can move that kind of. So if we become ants in a larger picture and we understand that we have to only do a very small bit, but that when that bit fits into a larger picture, then it's a very, very thrilling thing. It's a very thrilling thing to be a part of something where you are only a little cog in the wheel, but somehow this cog in the wheel was so important for the carriage to move forward. And I think that that's what, that the taste of that is very sweet. It's a very sweet taste. It's a very fulfilling taste. Many of our volunteers come back despite busy times. Sometimes they don't come for a while and then they return because they remember how happy and energized that this makes them. And I'm going to leave you with this thought, that Montessori keeps saying that when you have real good work, yes, somehow it doesn't make you feel tired. When you do good work, when you are satisfied, she says this about the child, but I think all of us who have worked very hard, I see a lot of you who have, basically taken on many more things than your basket can hold. All of you who have worked hard know that it is very pleasurable to work and work to capacity. Once you've tasted that, and when you've tasted that joy of just getting that one little thing done, and you know that it has played a part in reaching a much larger thing to somebody and to making someone understand the child, that's very special. I want to say, during COVID, when all of us were at home, there were many children at home, and we wanted to reach out to parents. And I remember this very group. Some of the trainers gave talks about various things that people could do at home. And they shared their time very generously. Many of the trainers came forward and spoke to parent groups. And then some of the volunteers made little, a very small article and with a photograph on what children can do at home, taking photographs from what children were doing at home at that time. And I want to say, those little articles, 10 of them, 10 or 12 of them, they are still relevant today. That effort that was made, it was such a small effort. One person didn't write a book. It was one person took a photograph, one person collected a couple of photographs, one person wrote up this little article, various parents were asked to write something. And then a little collection came, which is still useful to parents. It is still used by schools. It is still, something that when parents are first coming into a Montessori school, it's a lovely little thing to hand out. Some people hand out hard copies of it. Some people hand out soft copies of it. And this was something that grew so organically. It was just came out of the effort that we made collectively a little bit together. No one held too much. No one took all the credit. No one took, the wonderful thing about Montessori principles is that, you don't have to praise one person. We all just take that glow of happiness that comes from being a part of something. It's not about praise. It's not about, it's not really about even doing it for something that I got in return, right? There's no money, there's no fame, there's no. I know everyone is now talking to me about influencers, but I find the word so strange and so strange that if you think about Montessori as an influencer, she reached a lot of people in her time, and she reached them from her conviction with no possibility for a million likes or whatever it is that you all are supposed to get now to. So this is work that is deeply satisfying. It's not just it's not just in order to get more people on board as much as to reach something to somebody who needs it. And I think that when children are at the center of that equation, of that center of that framework of service, then everything becomes easy, because it's easy to put children first. And I invite you, though you don't see a direct connection perhaps to your talent as alumni, some of you, maybe you can write an article, some of you take marvelous photographs, some of you are good at editing, some of you are extremely organized and very good at the computer, some of you are good at making materials, some of you are great at making catalogs and organizing things. So these are, some of you are good at events, some of you are good at speaking. So I think these are all things that we should share in service of children. So whatever you have to share, whether it's time, whether it's just a little time, little energy that you can give to the community of people who are working in this area, I think that we have the possibility to make some great strides forward in the work that we have done. And I think that it's that happiness of service that I'm inviting you to taste.